Welcome to Chapter 11, where the topic is assembly drawings. In order to create an assembly drawing, we have to start with an assembly. So let's open up our favorite assembly for this course, which is the motorcycle. Just because assemblies are larger than individual parts, assembly drawings will often be both physically larger than part drawings, and also the amount of CAD data can be extremely large. You can create a drawing from an assembly in the same way that you create a drawing from a part. One of the easiest ways is just to use the Make Drawing from Part or Assembly option from the New dropdown. When you're creating an assembly drawing, it might be a good idea to have a special template set aside for drawings. Before you start creating assembly drawings, you really should have some assembly drawing templates available. And I've taken the time to make one before I started this lesson. So let's use this drawing template to get started on an assembly drawing. I'm going to use the Make Drawing from Part Assembly option, and my new template is called Infinite Skills 2-Sheet D and B. You should copy this file from your Working Files folder into your Infinite Skills Drawing Templates folder. As the name implies, this is a 2-sheet template where the first sheet is a D-size drawing and the second sheet is B-size. So let's say OK and bring this assembly onto the drawing. The handy view palette shows up if we should need to put any additional views on here, but I'm going to dismiss that. And the first thing I notice is that I only need a couple of views. And the second thing I notice is that what I'm getting here is really a back view instead of a front view. One thing I could do is just to change the orientation. So if I select the back, say yes to the prompt, SOLIDWORKS flips all of the views around. So now I'm getting a front view here and everything looks good. I'll get rid of these other two views that I don't need. Just delete them. And now these two views are showing up too small on my D-size drawing. To make them larger, remember I can right-click on the sheet, go to Properties, and instead of scaling them at 1 to 12, I'll scale them at 1 to 5. Reposition the views somewhat to get them onto the drawing sheet. Now the next thing I might want to add is a bill of materials. Bill of materials is just a chart that calls out all of the parts used on the assembly. There are several ways of organizing the parts in the assembly. So let's take a look at inserting a bill of materials. First, I'm going to start by selecting a view, and then I'll go to Insert, Tables, Bill of Materials. You'll notice that there are two types of bills of materials available. One is just referred to as a simple bill of materials, and this is made from the generic SOLIDWORKS-based chart functionality. The other bill of materials is based on Excel. In order to use an Excel-based bill of materials, you must have Excel installed on your computer. This will work better with later versions of Excel, although I know for a fact that it will work as far back as 2003. I'm just going to use the SOLIDWORKS-based bill of materials to put the bill of materials on this drawing. Before the bill of materials shows up, you have several decisions to make. If you have a table template that you want to use for this bill of materials, this is a good time to select it. If your company has specific standards for how bills of materials are formatted, a template is something you should really put together. In the Table Position panel, this option that says Attach to Anchor Point refers to an anchor point that you may have set up in your sheet format. While editing the sheet format, you can right-click on any one of the corners, or in fact, any sketch point in the format, and assign that as an anchor point for a bill of materials or another type of table. The BOM type refers to what items will show up in the bill of materials. If you select top level only, then you will get only the items that show up in the first level of the feature manager. So that would include subassemblies and individual parts. If you select parts only, then you will see no subassemblies. You will only see the parts that are within the subassemblies. If you select indented, SOLIDWORKS will show each subassembly, and then in an indented list underneath the subassembly, you will get the individual parts. So this is the option I'm going to select. When you select an indented bill of materials, you get 3 options for how the parts will be numbered. If you select no numbering, then there are no numbers. If you select detailed numbering, then a subassembly might be subassembly number 1, and the first part underneath the first subassembly will be 1.1. The second subassembly will be 2, and the first part under the second subassembly will be 2.1. So the parts in the assembly then will be numbered much like an outline format. Flat numbering will just number all of the parts with individual numbers, starting from 1 and going to the number of parts you have available. In this case, I'm going to select the detailed numbering. Configurations is important when you have an assembly with configurations, and we'll come back and deal with this a little bit later. If you have parts that have configurations, the part configuration grouping panel will help you decide how to organize these in the SOLIDWORKS drawing. If over time you remove parts from the assembly, SOLIDWORKS can keep track of the parts that have been removed by using strikeout in the bill of materials. You can control where the item numbers start and how they increment, and you can also specify that SOLIDWORKS not change the numbers once they are initially assigned. Let's go ahead and put the bill of materials on the drawing and see what we've got. Remember, this is a D-size drawing. The bill of materials is snapping to the upper line, and it will snap to the corner if you choose to do that. If you want to move the bill of materials, grab it from this corner, where if I zoom in, you'll be able to see there's a cross that allows me to move the bill of materials. You see also here that the detailed numbering that SOLIDWORKS has put in, and also the subassembly structure, starting with the frame subassembly, the rear wheel subassembly, and so on. This is also a good time to advocate for putting real descriptions into your individual parts. In this case, I've just used descriptions in my template and allowed those default descriptions to carry through. If I want to call out the parts in the assembly with balloons, there are several ways to do that. I can do this manually, switch to the annotation tab, grab the balloon tool, and just start clicking parts and placing balloons. SOLIDWORKS can also auto-balloon your assembly if you're willing to put up with possibly a little bit of mess. So let's try the auto-balloon and see how that works. This is going to require a bit of cleanup between the two views. Notice that SOLIDWORKS has used the new functionality called magnetic lines. This is a good time to point that out. If I grab this gray line, we can move all of the balloons together. The magnetic line is set up using the magnetic line tool. And when you snap an annotation or a balloon to the magnetic line, it will space out evenly along the line. To get the magnetic line for these balloons along the side, I'm going to click on one of the balloons and then grab and drag the magnetic line inside the drawing border. Same down here. And notice the numbers within the balloons correspond to the numbers inside the bill of materials. If you have multiple components, sometimes, such as this headlight, I can click on the balloon itself and change the balloon settings so that it has a circular split line balloon. This will tell me the number of the part and then the quantity of the part as well.